We begin at Halach Ma'anya. I guess we begin in setting the scene. We've made Kiddush. We've done strange things, as the Mishnah tells us to do, strange things that will evoke questions. We've broken the normal order of things, washed, dipped a vegetable, broken the matzah, and then we make this great declaration. Halach Ma'anya di'achalav asana v'arad Mitzrayim. This is different translations, bread of affliction or impoverished bread or poor bread, or the bread of speech even, declaration bread that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. And we carry on that we invite guests in to join the Pesach. Then we say, Shatacha, this year we're here, next year we'll be in Israel, this year we're slaves, next year we're free. But obviously, I mean, the major question, is what are we actually talking about it? What do we mean? This year we're here, next year we'll be in Israel. We might say that in Israel, this year we're slaves, next year we're free. And I'm familiar with two different approaches, one of which is that we're actually traveling back in time. The Rashbamu says that the only time in Egypt we ever met the Jewish people eating matzah was on the last night in Egypt. And we're therefore saying, this is the bread they ate in the last night in Egypt. We are joining them. We're not just commemorating. We're actually part of this final meal and feeling their feelings. This year we're here, next year we'll be in Israel. This year we are slaves, next year we're going to be free. And on the other hand, an approach of the Ralvan who says, no, we're referring to ourselves in exile right now. This year we're slaves. This year we may physically be in the geographical lands of Israel even, if those who are. But we're not in what Israel's meant to be. We're not in the place of real freedom. And so on the one hand, we're kind of going back in time. Let's go back to that last night in Egypt. And on the other hand, we're almost going forward. Here we are in the present, looking into the future.
Of course, be out of the Mitzrayim. But the Achola Havasana could go back even further. When the Malachim came to visit Avraham, he made Ugeis Matzes. And Rashi says, because it was Pesach.
Yes.
So the Achola Havasana could even mean Avisenu, like the Gimel Ovis. They ate matzah. And matzah is lachma anya. It's poor bread or bread of poverty. Now, we can understand in Mitzrayim, what did the Mitzrayim feed the slaves? The cheapest, most basic food, which is, but Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, why were they eating lachma anya? And even if they ate it on Pesach, why would it be called lachma anya? They're keeping a yontif, they're celebrating. What's with the lachma anya? So the deeper meaning is ein oni elo bedas. Avram Avinu was eating matzah on Pesach because he kept all the mitzvahs before they were even given. But it was lachma anya. It didn't have das because the Torah had not been given. So although he knew that this would be a mitzvah, but when the Torah actually gave the mitzvah, it added das. We really got connected to Hashem through the mitzvah. And das means closeness. Like Vayeda Odam Eschava means intimacy. So we didn't really develop an intimate relationship with Hashem until the giving of the Torah. Even if you kept the mitzvahs before they were given, it didn't produce the das. So, hey, lachma anya, this is a mitzvah that our oves did, but without the das. Moshe brought das. So that's why we're saying, now we're going to sit down and eat matzah, not the way they did, although it was great that they did, And this is in some way commemorative of that, but it's much greater than that. Because today, when you eat matzah, you connect with Hashem far more than when they ate the matzah. Because mitzvah v'oiseh is much greater than einay mitzvah v'oiseh. So let's put it in different words. When they ate matzah, it connected them to Hashem. So their connection to Hashem was the matzah. When we eat matzah, it's the opposite. We are connected to Hashem. And that's why we eat matzah. Where do we see this? Another part of the Haggadah. Ilu kervonu l'fnei har Sinai v'lo nosan lono es haTorah. Dayenu?
Yeah.
Why? Standing by a mountain is good enough. If we stood by the mountain and you didn't give us the Torah, dayenu, we can't get done thanking you for that. For what? Mm-hmm. For sightseeing? And if that mountain is so incredibly important, how come we don't even remember which one it was?
That's the Kervanu.
Uh-huh. You made us your people. We became close like Das. Now when we do your mitzvahs, it's not in order to get close, but because we are close. So we do what you do because we're like you. So you keep Shabbos, we keep Shabbos with you. Which explains, I think, a very curious. You should keep Shabbos. Ki sheishis yomim oso Hashem es Hashem. What kind of reason is that for me to keep Shabbos? It's a good reason for him to keep Shabbos. Shabbos hayom laHashem. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But what are we keeping Shabbos for? We didn't create anything. Not even in 6,000 years. So, obviously, we're keeping Shabbos because we've gotten attached to Hashem and we do as he does. When he is creating during the 6 days, we create Sheishis Yomim Ta'avidu. But when he is not creating and resting, we rest with him. V'hiyisam kedoshim ki kodesh oni. Yeah, you're holy because you're a neighborster. What do you want from me? Mm-hmm. Same idea. We don't step away. We don't go on different pages. Wherever he is, we follow. Whatever he's doing, we do it with him. We stay by his side. And that's the significance of the words v'atem tihiyu li. Whatever follows. V'atem tihiyu li, goy kodesh, whatever. But tihiyu li. Stay with me. Stay with me. I hate Chazer. Hate it with me. It's a to'eva ba'einei Hashem. Then it should be a to'eva for you too. But not because that will get you close, but because you are close. So that's what makes the Seder matzah so much greater than the matzah that our ancestors ate, because then it was lechem oini. We were missing a connection. And by eating the matzah, we were trying to create a connection. That's lechem oini. We're needy of a connection. After Matan Torah, we don't need a connection. We need to express the connection we have.
Beautiful. So we're saying, halach ma'anya, this is the bread from before, the achla avasana, that they ate before even Egypt. This is the bread that they ate to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and presumably carried that on Ba'arad Mitzrayim. That's it. And what we're now saying is, and therefore we have to feel the difference between what that was to them and what it is to us. That's really what the night is going to relive that moment when it began to change. That's the power of, and really I think that's such the magic of Seder night is we're everywhere. We're eating the bread of Avraham Avinu. We're eating the bread of the last night in Egypt. We're eating the bread of Yemos HaMashiach, and we're everywhere. We're
everything. It's the past, it's the future, it's everything.
Future. We're being lifted outside of it all, and that's where we're really at home. Beautiful. Let's move over. I mean, there's so much. Every line of Seder night is infinite, but let's move into the Manis Tana. Move into the 4 questions. Mm-hmm. Move into the and really. I mean, Chazal clearly instituted they wanted 4 questions, because in the days of the Beis Hamikdash, the main question was, why are we eating the Korban Pesach roasted? And when that went, they put a 4th one in. So we need it to be 4 questions. That's very, very clear from Chazal. And presumably the original source is the 4 times the Torah talks about questions, which becomes our Arba Bonim, our 4 children in the Seder night as well. But there's something about the dimension of 4 throughout Seder night. Arba Kosos, the 4 cups, the 4 psukim that are at the center of Seder night, the 4 Lashonos Haggadah, the 4 expressions of redemption. So it's clear that question is central to Seder night. The halacha is it's not just that there's a child, people think when they come to Seder night, obviously, parents are there to educate children. But the halacha is if there's no children, we got to ask questions. If we're by ourselves, it's the only time in the whole of Torah we've got to ask the question. So the question is so central to Seder night, and the number 4 is so central. And this is clearly coming together in perhaps the most famous line of Seder night, the Manis Tana. What is this change? What is the transformation of this night over other nights?
So the first thing to notice is that the Lashon is Manis Tana, not Loma. What is the difference between Ma and Loma? Loma means why. Loma Hashem, Loma Ha'esa La'am Hazeh. Why? Ma means what? What makes this night different? Not why is it different. So one of the ways we can understand the kashis, the She'ena Yedei Alisho really shouldn't be part of the Seder. Because the telling, the Magid, the Haggadah Bincha, comes in reaction to Ki Yisholcha Bincha. So if a kid is not asking, he's not part of the picture. So why is the 4th son there? So at Psachla, you have to get him to ask. That's not what it says. It says that if he asks, you tell him. So one of the ways of understanding it is, Eino Yedei Alishil doesn't mean he doesn't ask. He asks, but he doesn't know how you're supposed to ask a question. He says Lama. Even the Rosha doesn't say Lama. So the Eino Yedei Alishil does ask, but he asks why. And not only at the Seder, in life in general, why is not a question. Why is an objection. So when Moshe Rabbeinu says, Lama ha're'eso la'om hazeh, why did you make the slavery worse? What is the answer? There's no answer. Hashem changes the subject. He says, I'll take him out soon, you'll see. Yeah, well, why did you make it worse? There's no answer. Because why is not a question. Moshe was saying I object to this kind of slavery. So the Eibishter said, okay, we'll end it. That's what Moshe wanted to hear. He didn't want an explanation on the benefits of suffering. Just like children, when they say, why do I have to go to sleep? They don't want a lecture on the benefits of sleep. They're just letting you know that they have no intentions of going to sleep. Right? So we have to be careful. If you want an explanation, then ask what? If you want to register a complaint, then you say why. And don't expect an answer. Like, why was there a Holocaust? Nobody's going to answer you. Your objection is heard and accepted. Now, what do you want? Okay. You're against Holocausts. Yeah, we all are. Now, what do you want? You want to register your complaint? Noted. And that's why there's no answer to why. Because why doesn't want an answer. You want to know what a Holocaust was? That we can talk about. Anyway, so the first thing we learn from the Manishtana is if you want to ask a question like a mensch, you ask what. If you say why, you're not asking, you're objecting.
Right. I mean, there's, or could we put it slightly different? There's a place for why, but why is not a real question. Because just like it's certainly not a she'ela. A she'ela is seeking, it's searching. It's a bit like in English, the word quest is the root of the word question. Why is not a quest? Really seeking what's really beneath the surface. That's the quest. That's the journey. And of course, sorry.
How do we refer to these questions? It's the four kashas. That's a little surprising because that's not what it says. There are kashas and there are shailas. These four queries, are they in the category of kasha or are they in the category of shaila?
It's in the language of the Mishnah and the Torah, we use the word shail, right? The Mishnah is kind of shail. Here it's the shaila, not shail, but in Yiddish language or in learning Gemara, we say shaila. We mean asking informationally, and kashas something's difficult, and we use the colloquial expression of kashas for them.
But the pasuk says
Kishalcha. Shaila. It's not a kasha.
So if we take a look at the four questions, they're not kashas, they're shailas.
Yeah.
The difference between them is a kasha is a lumdus. If you're learning a subject and you find a contradiction, you have a kasha. Here the Rambam says this and here the Rambam says that. What's going on? A shaila means I need information. Like when you come to a Rav, not with a kasha, you go to a Rosh Yeshiva with a kasha. You come to a Rav with a shaila. Can I eat this or not? May I do this or not? There's no kasha. It's a shaila. Yeah. Here's a very, very painful but very important idea. If a yeshiva boy asks a kasha, it's perfectly okay to say, let's save that for tomorrow. We'll talk about that later. How much later? Well, let's see. Teku. Can you wait 2,000 years? Eliyahu will come and he will answer your kasha. Good enough? Yeah. But if a person asks a shaila and you don't answer, you have turned that child off and you're going to lose him and he's going to walk away from Yiddishkeit. Because a shaila is personal. So if a kid asks a shaila and you ignore it or you delay it, you're ignoring the child. A shaila must be answered. Akasha? But what's happening in the yeshivas? If a bacher asks a good kasha, you spend the entire day on it. Ooh, such a good kasha. Wow, wow, wow. If a bacher asks a shaila, you throw him out of yeshiva.
Some yeshivas.
Well, either throw him out or dismiss him or call him a shegitz or something, you know. Proper courses. Take a look at the questions. What does the Chacham ask? What's his kasha? What's your kasha? There's no kasha.
Yeah.
The wicked son, what's his kasha? There's no kasha. He's saying, what's so important about this? The Tom is certainly not asking a kasha.
Yeah.
He is very clear. I don't know what's going on. Can somebody tell me? It's not a kasha. And then the fourth son clinches this whole, how do we describe him? Yeah. So the other three are asking a shaila, and the fourth one doesn't know how to ask a shaila, right? Mm-hmm. So what does it mean, apsachli? See, if they're all asking kashas, and the fourth son doesn't have a kasha, what do you have to go out of your way to create a kasha? He doesn't have a kasha. What's the problem? It's like, ulai yesh lahakshis. Maybe we can create a kasha. You don't create kashas. Ulai yesh latadets. That's good. Ulai yesh no. So why do you want your son to have kashas? You don't. But if he doesn't ask a shaila, it's worrisome. You're making ready for Pesach. Everything is being changed. Everything is being replaced. And he has no shaila. He's not pro, he's not con, he's not happy, he's not upset.
Indifference.
Oh, that is scary.
Yeah.
So yes, get him involved. Get him to say, I hate this. I love this. I don't want this. So I think we have to learn that when a child asks a shaila, that's serious. He asks a kasha, good kasha.
Beautiful. If I may also add, there's a beautiful, I was thinking this must, I haven't seen this inside anywhere. I suspect it probably is somewhere. Manish Tana, we know throughout Tanakh, whenever we go in the deeper levels, the question ma, there's two questions. We ask ma and me. And whenever the question is me, the answer is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And whenever the question is ma, the answer is the Adam HaShalem. In other words, ma Hashem lakach shayil mehemach. What is it Hashem's seeking from you? Ma is gematria Adam. He wants you to become the Adam. So, throughout Koheles, you see this very strongly. There's a manish tana. The human changes tonight. We can change. We can become the tzuras ha'adam. But the way is, exactly you're saying, the sheila. And what strikes me as something very profound here is twofold. I remember once I was actually on a plane. I was a yeshiva boch at the time, and I was on a flight back from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel to London. And some man came up. There's a bunch of us talking Torah in the middle of the aisle somewhere. And a man came up to us. I didn't know. I think the other boys there knew him. And he just said, "What prompted the shayla of the Chacham? What made the Chacham ask the question?" So I answered, "No, he's sitting at Seder night. He's watching." He said, "No," and then he walked off. It was a very funny conversation. So when I got back home, I looked it up and I realized, the Chacham was never asking about Seder night. In fact, almost none of the children are asking about Seder night in the Torah. The Chacham is asking about all of Yiddishkeit, generally speaking, in Parashat Vayeschanan. The Rosh is asking about the Korban Pesach the afternoon before. The Tam is just asking about Pidyon Haben. It sees a strange ceremony of firstborn son being redeemed. And what the Mechilta was doing, this is the source of the four sons, is saying, effectively saying the questions are not about Seder night, but the answers are. And really, amazingly, the Torah never calls them a chacham, a wise one, a cynical one, anything, because there's certain events in life that stimulate any of us. Any of us could be, all of us, in fact, are chacham, have wisdom. All of us have perhaps some negative. All of us have simplicity and want to know more. And all of us, this is what struck me at least, have a part of us that's no longer seeking or searching. It's not just the child who's indifferent. It could also be an adult who comes to say that, even to teach everybody else, but we're not seeking ourselves. And what struck me is the pasuk that we say for the Einei Adei Lishol is in fact the most quoted pasuk throughout the Haggadah. The whole Haggadah is structured around that pasuk. We use it for the Einei Adei Lishol. We actually use the same pasuk for the Rasha. Amazing. Later we'll give the Rasha's answer. We only give it at the end of the Seder night. You tell him what it is. We treat him at this point also like an Einei Adei Lishol. And then we use the same pasuk a little line later to determine how we know it's tonight and not 2 weeks ago. We use the same pasuk of V'yigadal. You should tell your child, Ba'avur zeh, because of this, to point to the Pesach Matzah Mara, Hashem took me out. And we use the same pasuk to say, in every in every generation, we have to see ourselves as if we're coming out of Egypt, because it says, Ba'avur zeh Hashem li. This is a message for everybody. And yet it's the message to the one not asking questions, a message to the cynic. And it seems that the Mechilta is saying is, all of us have this. To the extent to which we're coming to Seder night with wisdom, the Seder night's going to be incredible. To the extent to which it's simple, we're going to get good stuff. The extent to which we are not seeking and searching or coming with cynicism, or whatever it is, skepticism is fine, but we're not seeking, we're not being shoyal. We could read the whole Seder night, do all the mitzvahs, and miss the whole journey. And I remember seeing a beautiful Kedushas Levi who says, all of this comes from Lefidata Shel Ben Aviv Melamdo, according to the, whatever das is, knowledge, understanding, grasp, connection, perhaps more than anything else. The Lefidata Shel Ben Aviv Melamdo, according to the knowledge or connection or understanding or relationship with the child, the father teaches them. And he says that really, obviously, the real father here is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, is Hashem himself. And the child is us, B'ni B'chayri Yisrael. The child is being created tonight. And as we teach our children, is in the pattern of how Kadosh Baruch Hu himself is reaching down to us. And everything's open. It's the Fidata Shalben, it's up to us. If we can expand our consciousness, if we can become shoyal, deeply seeking, then there's no limit as to how deep we can go and how high we can climb on Seder night. What's that?
Shoalti. And more Hashem Elikecha Sheyeh. Yeah, it's I just want to mention, the Rebbe once was speaking about the minhag that everybody at the Seder asks the 4 questions. First the children, then the adults. And the adult says, Tate, ich will bei dir fragen 4 kashas. Even though his father is already in Gan Eden. And the Rebbe got very emotional. And he said, when a person says, Tate, ich will bei dir fragen 4 kashas, the neshama of the father leaves Gan Eden and comes to hear the kasha.
Yes. Wow.
As painful as that is for a neshama to tear itself away from Gan Eden, particularly on Pesach, when they're making a Seder up there and when they're doing whatever magical things. But when you ask your father, Tate, ich will bei dir fragen, a father can't resist. Anyway, I want to mention something. There's a Neder B'Yehuda who says that the Gemara in Brachos says, Menayin sheHaKadosh Baruch Hu mispalel. How do we know that the Eibishter davens? And the pasuk that he brings is, Ki beis tfilosi yikorei l'chol ha'amim, Based philosophy means the shul I davenin. Right. So that's what the Gemara says. Based philosophy means the Eibishter davens. Rabbi Yehuda asks, who does he daven to? It's a very good question. And he says he davens to Bnei Yisrael. And then he says, and don't be shocked, because there's a Befedish pasuk, Mo Hashem Elikecha shoyel me'imach. What do you mean shoyel? He's mitzaveh. Every place else it says tzav, tzav. But there is an occasion where Hashem actually davens to us, asking us to be His. Mo Hashem Elikecha shoyel me'imach kiyim liyira isei. So the attitude that Hashem is indifferent is so foreign. Particularly, you read the Haggadah. What are we so grateful for? That the Eibush that took us out of Mitzrayim, lo yal yedei malach, lo yal yedei shaliach, lo yal b'chvoidei uve'atzmei, he came down to Mitzrayim to. This is an indifferent Eibishter? Obviously not. So it's just interesting that you would think that this is a Hasidic concept, like from the Baal Shem Tov. No, it's the Rabbi Yehuda.
This is the Gemara. That's the pasuk from which the Gemara says, "Hakol b'dei shamayim chutz mi'yirah shamayim." This is the one thing Hashem has given that's ours, and He shared it. Yeah, it's beautiful. He shared from us. We shall too. Beautiful. So let's maybe jump into then the real, I guess, the core, which is the mitchila odeva desire from when we start really telling the Sifrei Yetzias Mitzrayim, the four psukim. But I guess we introduce it with mitchila odeva desire. However, saying the beginning, our ancestors are pagans. After kevana machun avodah, He's now brought us in it.
Before we move on. Another indispensable piece of information on the kashas.
Yeah.
The wise son, the chacham, it's really not wise. Chacham doesn't mean wise, right? Chachma is smart.
Mm-hmm.
The smart son asks, why are there three different kinds of mitzvahs? Edus, chukim, mishpatim. Some make perfect sense, some are sensible, and some make no sense. All of them are coming from Hashem Echad. How does that get divided into three different kinds of mitzvahs? Good question. It shows that he's a chacham. The Rasha says, he sees that there's an avodah. Ivdu es Hashem. But he doesn't understand the need for it. What's good about being an eved? It's degrading. What does the Tam ask? Actually, the Rambam refers to the Tam as a Tippish.
Tippish, based on the Yerushalmi, yeah.
But we don't.
Yeah.
Our Nusach is Tam. Tam means sincere. V'Yakov ish Tam, Yoshev Oiholim. Tam doesn't mean a Tippish. Tam means a wholesome person. Tmimus. So here's one way of understanding this event at the table. The smart son says, why are there three kinds of mitzvahs? The Rasha says, what's with this avdus? What does the simple son say? He says the simple truth. He is answering his brothers. He is saying to the chacham, You don't know why there are 3 kinds of mitzvahs. You're so smart. But wait a minute. Mazos. Tell me what a mitzvah is, and your question will go away. You're asking why there are 3 kinds of mitzvahs. You don't even know what a mitzvah is. If you knew that mitzvah means connection, then what is your question? Why does the Eibishter want to be connected to us through emunah and through intelligence and through minhagim? Because he wants a total connection. It wouldn't be good if we have emunah in Hashem, but all our seichel comes from secular. The Eibishter wants all of us, the complete person. We say, Ma. Then he says to the Rasha, you want to know what this is for, this avodah? Do you know what avodah means? You think it means enslavement, degrading? To be an Eved Hashem is degrading? You don't know what avodah means. So ask yourself mazos before you ask your wicked questions. Turns out that the Tam is wise. He is a bardas. And we have to learn from that our major question should always be, before I discuss something, can I get a definition? Mazos is the best question in the world. Aseres hadibres, 10 commandments. Dibres doesn't mean commandments. It's misleading. It gives the wrong impression. Commandments comes from a commander, like in an army. What happened at Har Sinai is not that the Eibishter became a commander. So first, mazos, translate carefully. Know what you're saying, then formulate a question if you have one. But don't come with the question before you have the definition. So the Tam should be given a lot of respect. Okay, now let's move on. Enough with the
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, okay, so much more to say, but I think, well, yeah, let's get into the Mitchil Ovdovadzar. So we're about to introduce our Ami Ovidabi. We want to get into this, the 4 psukim that come really from a farmer bringing bikurim, bringing the first fruits, where the Torah really gives us the kits of the sort of brief summary of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And we introduce it by going back in time, back once again to Avraham Avinu. He was at the beginning, he was an idol worshipper. But now Hashem's brought us near. And in fact, of course, the Gemara says, we've got to be masel b'genusim, Messiah b'shvach. The Mishnah says you've got to start from the low and go to the high. And the Gemara discusses that from slavery in Egypt, or is it all the way back to the pagan roots? But in fact, as the Haggadah then brings out, that's not just, obviously not just Stam, but it's deeper than that. The whole of Yetzias Mitzrayim was a response to Avraham Avinu. All of going into Egypt was part of the bris bein absarim, part of what Hashem promised him when he says, "B'ma'odah ki Roshana." How do I know I'm going? My children will inherit this land. Yada'ateidah ki geri azaracha b'eretz le'lahem. They're going to go through this. They're going to be slaves. They have odom, some. Then they'll come out. So this is the root. This is the story of coming out of Mitzrayim. Is really the story of going into Mitzrayim. It's a story that goes all the way. And this ability to it, we got to try to get to grips with why is the Seder so focused on taking us right back to that point, that journey, and even before that point, the whole journey of Avodah Zarah into Avodah Hashem, right? The big picture.
It does feel a little uncomfortable. If they Avodah Zarah, who of our ancestors were if they Avodah Zarah? And if there was one guy. Yeah, Pesel Micha.
Right. Well,
So-
Haggadah would mean terach, presumably.
Right. So going back to Terach is so unnecessary because Terach added nothing to our history. It all began with Avraham. I think we need to look a little deeper. What were the Evdei Avodah Zarah? What was their mistake? What was wrong with Avodah Zarah? Now, if you say, well, they believe that the statue that they built created the world, I don't think that's an Aveda. I think that's insanity, and they're potter from mitzvahs. How can you take that even seriously? And were they that brainless? They weren't. They were geniuses. They built pyramids that we still can't figure out how. The Evdei Avodah Zarah did not believe that the Avodah Zarah created the world. The Rambam in Hilchos Avodah Zarah maps it out very, very graphically. The first Avodah Zarah was honoring the sun and the moon for being Hashem's generals, ministers. They didn't replace Hashem. The worst Avodah Zarah of the worst times in history did not deny Hashem. They referred to Hashem as Elokah de Elokaya. He is the father of all gods. So what do they need the Avodah Zarah for? Because you can't expect the Eibishter to get involved in your petty affairs. So if you need bread, you don't ask the Eibishter for bread. What is he, a waiter in a restaurant? It's beneath his dignity. So the mistake of the Avodah Zarah was that they believed Ozav Hashem es haaretz. Of course, only he could create it. But the everyday maintenance, what is he, a janitor? That work he gave over to his ministers. So, of course, the sun didn't create the world, but the sun keeps the world going. Therefore, it's only right to show a little respect and gratitude to the sun out of respect for the Eibishter. You respect the minister because he is the minister of the king. So part of the kavod of Hashem transfers to his ministers. A generation or two later, Rambam says, false prophets started to tell a lie. And the lie was that the sun and the moon came to them and demanded to be served. Then things got even worse when they started to tell the lie that Hashem demands that you honor his ministers. So it started off with a pretty innocent assumption. If the Eibishter is that great, then even his ministers deserve kavod. You could say it was an innocent mistake. Then it became dishonest. It became a lie. It became a way of controlling people. So Tchila Evdei Avodah Zarah Hayu Aveseinu doesn't mean we were not believing in Hashem or that we didn't know Hashem. It's that we didn't realize that Hashem is involved in every detail of our lives. So we weren't denying Hashem, we were denying Hashgacha. So we're not starting off from an embarrassing, pea-brained idiocy. What we're saying is our relationship to Hashem was not what it is today. Because back then, we thought that in addition to Hashem, we need the ministers. So again, what we're saying is things were okay, but they're so much better now.
We're saying, well, saying things are okay, but the so much better. I mean,
Lechem oini, right? But now it's much better.
Right, but Avodah Zarah is still, and as the mistake might have been a subtle one, but the root of the mistake is twofold. One is a fundamental sense that Hashem doesn't care about what we do. And two is probably also in that Rambam, it sounds like, a sense of how do I get something out of God? I need his son God minister. I need his reign. So it's maybe subtle. A lot of people have a religious instinct of I use Hashem and the divine forces as my messengery device. And Hashem's not complete. But the consequences of that mistake are horrific. I mean, the consequences were societies built on power and oppression and all the sickest things. The Avodah Zarah world was
selfishness. Yes. So look at the answer. And now we believe in Hashem? No, we believe then also. But the Eibush that drew us close to his Avodah, it changed exactly what you're saying. We looked at Hashem like an ATM. Like, where can we get our needs met? If not Hashem, then his ministers. But the thinking was, where do I get my needs? What changed? Kervano Hashem la'avedasai. We're not asking for him to do what we need. We want to do for him. We want to serve him. That is a major improvement. Like going from childhood to adulthood. As a child, all you do is ask. Gimme, gimme, gimme. That's all a father is good for. A father has all the goodies, and let's see how many you can get from him. Has an endless supply of candy. How many candies can I get from him? When we grow up, we realize to serve the Father's purpose. Like it says about to the Haggadah, Vayelchu shnehem yachdav. Yitzchak didn't ask, can you help me out? I'm in trouble here. No, if your avodah is to do an Haggadah, I'm with you. So that is a major, major improvement in our relationship. And it's not an ancient blessing. It's something we need now too. Every day we can choose either to be demanding of him or serving him. Every day, every minute, same choice. You can go back to being a baby. Sometimes we feel like babies. Or we can think, so what are the four Lashonos? Vehitzalti, Vegoalti. So it turns out that there's really three Lashonos of Geula. The fourth pasuk, V'lokachti eschem li la'om. When did that happen? At Yitzias Mitzrayim? No, really, it happened at Matan Torah on Shavuos. So there are really three expressions of Exodus.
Right. The fifth was Vevesia. So now getting, I'm just taking out the specific, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. Really three that are directly related to coming out, yeah.
Right. So the fourth one seems like not so much about what the Eibishter does, but how we react. V'lokachti eschem li la'om. You become. It's more about us than about what the Eibishter does. It's like there are three things that the Osher does for the Oni, and then what the Oni does for the Osher, which is really amazing. Aleph is the Eibishter, the master. Beis is the house. Gimel is Gemilas Chesed. The master of the house gives tzedakah. To whom? To the Dalid. Dal. Dal means Oni, Evian. It's really interesting how the letter Gimel, the leg of the Gimel, is not like the hay that goes up and down, vertical. The leg of the Gimel is horizontal. It points to the Dalid. That's called giving. You go out and find the Oni to give. But the Oni stands with his back to the Gimel. Matan b'seiser. The Oni doesn't have to see where it's coming from, because that's Matan b'seiser, the best form of tzedakah. But it also turns out that Aleph, Beis, Gimel is 3. Dalit is 4. So the 3 matzahs. See, you said the whole theme of the Seder is 4. But the main item in the Seder is 3 matzahs. So Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, where does that come from? All of a sudden you're aware of a Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. 3 means what the owner of the house gives. V'lokachti v'hitzalti v'go'alti. That's what he does for us. The 4th thing is we become his people. That's our response. And that's the 4th. So you're actually saying that although we're celebrating everything the Eibishter did for us, but there's 4 Lashonos, 4 Kaises, 4 questions, 4 sons, because our response is why we're celebrating Pesach. We're celebrating what he did. But the fact that we are celebrating, don't lose sight of that. That's also a miracle. That's our miracle when we become the miracle.
Right. And I think that resonating with that is the most amazing thing is when we go through the whole Seder night, what is it for? Every generation, we're part of this. We're coming out again. Therefore, this is it. We, and I think it's maybe not in your and the Rob's term, but I'm sure it's easy to miss the power of what that means. Seder night turns us into a moida, mahalal, turns us, the transformation, us climbing all the way out to the highest heights, is that we become a moida, mahalal, and a shabeach, and a fire. This is us. We are the vehicle through which Hashem becomes manifest and glorified in the world. And then we say the halal, and incredibly, the meal itself becomes part of halal. We stop. And this amazing meal that is Hashem's doing for us, we're ingesting into us halal. Our body's going to be formed out of the food, which is it's like we discover within us something that is beyond what we think we are, which is
very good, and how significant is that to Hashem? Our response, right? Our response is significant. The response is the whole point. our response to him is the whole purpose of creation. So again, the Noda B'Yehuda says that with this we'll understand the whole story with the Shmuel Kohen Gadol, where the Eibishter said, Borcheni. The Eibishter needs our bracha. He says, for this bracha, the Eibishter created the whole world. He didn't create the world to show off how great he is. He created the world because our response, like you said, chutz miyira shamayim, that's the whole point. Everything else he has without us. But our response to him, that's why the whole world exists. So we can't forget the number 4. Yeah, it's so personal. It's so romantic.
It's shir. It's beautiful. There's so much more we can say, but hopefully, Be'ez Hashem, this has been something that's been. If there's other final other thoughts that I wants to share on the power and the beauty of the dimensions of, it's just so endless and it's just so deep and it's just so.
And how every little detail has so much meaning. Right in the beginning, Kol Dichfin, yeah. You're sitting down to the Seder, and it has to be Beheseva, B'derech Chedus, and you start off by saying Hashata Avdin. What are you doing? You feel like you're in Golos? This is how you celebrate Yitzias Mitzrayim? So the very practical answer, you make Kiddush and you say Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Now you're concerned with the child's shailus, right? If you're sensitive, if the child is an intelligent child and he hears you say Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim, he already has a kasha. The Eibishter took us out of Mitzrayim, so why are we making the Seder in the basement and in the cellar? Why are we making a Seder in Africa, in Europe, in America? I thought we came out of Mitzrayim. So we have to admit, you can't make believe, the elephant in the room. We're celebrating Geula, but we're in Golus. I mean, you got to resolve that right away. So you have to say, you're right, Hashata Avdin. But Yitzias Mitzrayim is not yet complete. Which is why we say, Ki yemei tzeischa me'eretz Mitzrayim, concerning Mashiach. Mashiach will come like the days we came out of Mitzrayim. We came out of Mitzrayim in one day. What are the Yemei? The answer is we're still coming out of Mitzrayim. And that's why we don't celebrate the day we came to Eretz Yisrael with Yehoshua. Ask most people, what was that day? Oh, who cares? Which is really strange. Everybody knows when we came out of Mitzrayim, the exact minute. So when did we finally get to Eretz Yisrael, which was our destination? Whatever. Because in truth, we haven't really gotten there yet. And today, with what's going on in Eretz Yisrael, oh boy, we haven't gotten there yet. This is not the land we were looking forward to. It's still in a process, which this is my own thought now, okay? My own, how is it possible that the entire Haggadah ignores Moshe Rabbeinu? How do you tell the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim without Moshe Rabbeinu? How many Nisim happened in Mitzrayim? Every Makkah was a 5 Makkahs. Every Makkah was a... Hey, Moshe Rabbeinu has nothing to do with this? So there are some people who say, well, we don't want to make it sound as if Moshe took us out of Mitzrayim. So excuse me, did you read the Torah? Moshe is in every sentence. If you're afraid of that, it's too late. And also, whoever put together the Haggadah, the authors of the Haggadah, how did they have the authority to leave Moshe out? Can imagine Moshe knocking on their door saying, excuse me? What, I had nothing to do with it? So the only good answer, and there are many, many answers, but the only really convincing answer is Moshe did knock on their door and said, please don't mention me. It's embarrassing. I took you out. You're making a seder in the cellar because you're hiding from the Inquisition. This is called taken out. I am the Goyel. Please don't mention me. After Mashiach comes, you can say, I started it. But as long as you're sitting in Golus, don't mention me. It's embarrassing. So that's what it is. We have to say to the child, Hashata Avdin, you're right. The Geula is not the complete Geula. Even Moshe Rabbeinu was embarrassed. But the Shana Haba, Yetzias Mitzrayim will be completed.
Well, that's beautiful. There's the Targum Yerushalmi. Targum Yerushalmi Parshas Yisro. See, Parshas Yisro, Hashem stands at the Kervonon Rifnei Sinai. He took it out of Sinai. And the words he says is, you saw that I took you out to Mitzrayim. V'esa eschem al kanfei neshoim v'avi eschem elai. He took out wings of eagles brought to me. And of course, we never saw in Parshas Bay anything about wings of eagles. And the Yerushalmi says, Targum Yerushalmi, that I flew you to me means to the Beis HaMikdash to eat the carbon pesach with me. Which means that in that incredible moment, we were lifted into the future. Yetzias Mitzrayim was Yemais HaMashiach. We were there. The Havi Yemais HaMashiach. We were literally there. And I don't know where I got this into my psyche. I'm sure it's in many different Sfarim. It's been in there. But the phrase that resonates is this whole night makes us citizens of the future. We're citizens of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the only place we really live. Where's our address? The Aretz Asher Hareka, the land that will be. Where do we belong in the Beis HaMikdash with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the third Beis HaMikdash in the Yemais HaMashiach? What are we now? Temporary residents. Because through that living Geula, we'll eventually bring the whole world there. But that's it. That's the real Chayrus. That's the power. Rav is saying over here.
Yep.
Amazing. Amazing.
I asked some yeshiva bachrim, what does it mean? Rashi makes a big, long explanation how the eagle carries its babies on its back, and it says mutav sheyikonsu hachitzim bi v'loy bebonai, and the Eibishter says, yeah, that's what I do for you. So excuse me.
We saw it this week. We saw a main of it this week.
But what kind of comparison? What do you say? The Eibishter is proud of the fact that he has Mesiras Nefesh like an eagle? What Mesiras Nefesh? The eagle is sacrificing his life for his kids. What's the Eibishter doing? So yeah, the Ananim were koileit. They absorb the arrows. So what? That's Mesiras Nefesh? What do you... There's so many places in Torah where the Eibishter says, I this, I that, and it's like, we don't take it literally. Neman bal melachtecha l'shalim scharcha. Yeah, except that the Eibishter is not bal melachtecha. He never hired you. He's not paying you. It's all a mushal or whatever, right? But that can't work. The whole point of the Mishnah is, if you're serving Hashem, if he is bal melachtecha, it's not like a human being. You work for a human being, you're never sure you're going to get paid. Or you're going to get paid in full. Or as much as you deserve. But if the Eibishter is bal melachtecha, you can be certain that you will get paid in full. But then we say, well, that's cute, but he's not bal melachtecha, so you can't be sure of anything. So you're back to nothing. You just dissolve the whole Mishnah. What does it mean for Esa Eschem al Kamfei Nesharim? The Nesher has Mesiras Nefesh for its children. But once it's shot, Mutav Sheyekonsu Hachitzem Bi, wonderful. Once that happens, you're not protecting your kids anymore. You're done. And the kids are on their own. How do you compare that to Hashem? Hashem hurts with you. For how long? For as long as you're hurting. So the Eibishter's devotion is permanent. In Nesha, it's mortal. Very nice, you're giving your life. But then what's going to happen with your kids? Oh, now it's not your problem anymore. So really, the Eibishter's devotion is much more than an eagle. Is the Eibishter bal melachtecha? On steroids. He is not only that he hired you, he created you, he chose you, he loves you, and he hired you. So it's always, the mushal is never as great as the nimshal. Not the other way around. Vayishma Hashem es koleinu. That is such, that should send shivers. Why? He has nothing better to do. If you say, don't cry to him, he doesn't understand your problems. That's avodah zarah, hayu aviseinu. An interesting little experience. A man from Israel calls me. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. He's got a problem. He has a 12-year-old daughter, and she is convinced that the Eibishter is angry at her. She's miserable. They went to all sorts of authorities, healers, psychiatrists. So in desperation, he calls me. And without asking, I love when this happens, he says, here, talk to her. He puts her on the line. So, wow. This is awkward.
Yeah.
To say the least. So I said to her, Hashem is angry at you? She says, yeah. I said, I'm so jealous. She says, what? I said, you're 12 years old and you can get HaKadosh Baruch Hu angry. How did you become so powerful? How did you become so important? I'm jealous. Problem went away on the spot. Every time we talk about Hashem getting angry and punishing, and you don't hear the compliment in that? It's stunning. It's the last thing we would have expected. So when the Eibusher gets angry at us, we read the Teichacha. I joke about this. We read the Teichacha. We listen to page after page after page of horrific. What do we do then? We go into the Kiddush room, make Kiddush, eat a kichel. You're not intimidated? We know who's talking. It's a compliment. Hey, we're going to be in trouble, yes. But it's such a compliment. If you treat me like this, I will treat you like... And if you treat me different... what, are we manipulating him into anger? We're pushing his buttons? What is going on here? Literally, you can push Hashem's buttons? What does that tell you? And on the other hand, we say, for an insignificant creature, you get a big response from him. So we gotta see the romantic side of this, or we're missing the whole picture. Yeah, for this you get this punishment. For that you get. It's so technical. It's so sterile. But it's not like that. Vayishma Hashem es na'akosim. Vayeda Hashem. Whoa. We're getting really personal here. And that's what we can't get over. I was getting the house ready for Pesach in Minnesota. My non-Jewish neighbor walks in. The sink is disconnected. The oven is disconnected. There's aluminum foil on the walls. Like, he was like, What happened to your house? I said, no, nothing happened. We're getting ready for a holiday. He says, which holiday? I said, Passover. It's when we came out of slavery. He says, when? When? I said, 3,000 years ago. He says, 3,000 years ago? Get over it. It was such a good wake-up call. For 3,000 years you haven't been a slave, and this is what you're doing? He says, the United States got its freedom from England 200 years ago. So you wave a flag, a hot dog. Enough. It's been 200 years. It's been 3,000 years. Get over it. That's a good question. We're not celebrating our release from backbreaking work. We can't get over the fact that you took us out. Not that we're out. You came to take us out. We were in Memtes Shari Tuma. You came to take us out. We'll never get over that.
Our essence became our cry to Hashem, and the essence of his response became Vayotzein Hashem Mitzrayim.
What significance does your tear have? Oh, we were crying. You're talking about the Eibusher. He's sensitive to your tears. Grow up. Yeah, he's sensitive. Not just to your tears. He's sensitive to you. When you're happy, he's happy. When you're miserable, he is miserable. And it's not a marshal, it's real. Otherwise, what are you celebrating? He virtually took you out of Mitzrayim? So you can make a virtual Seder?
So good. If I may, not really, another adding, but another dimension of the beauty of everything that I was saying is Sfas Emes. It says that to the whole, that possible V'yotzei Hashem Mitzrayim, which we have two drashas on in the Haggadah. The second time round, we pick up 10 hints and say, Elu Asamakosh. The revelation, the Pshuta Shel Mikros Hashem revealed, and the hidden level is he undid all the Asar Mamaros of creation. I did a cheshbon once, exactly how it works, but it literally goes backwards. So the last thing Hashem does is prove through his life. The first thing he inverts in Mitzrayim, he takes the source of life, water, and turns it into dam, into death. The second last thing in creation, you're above the animals, Moracha, they're going to be afraid. It's far there than ours. Third last thing in creation takes Offer min Adama and produces man. Third Makkah, he takes Offer and attacks man. And it rolls back through the animals, through the role of the sun, which becomes Shechim, through the plants, which get undone in Bara, through the creating of the environment, the habitat for man, which is undone in Arabah. Instead of Terai Hayabasha, the land will be seen by Chasasei Naaretz, he undoes that too. Instead of Yihiara, there should be light. We have Choshech. And instead of the moment of Bereshis, we have every Rashis removed in Egypt. It's Hashem saying, your tzaka, your cry, in light of everything you're saying, that your cry is so powerful, I'll rip away all of creation and replace it with what I said earlier, that I've said earlier, with Dibur. Instead of Asar Mamaros, one way of speaking, there's an Aseres of Dibres. There's now a word which is introduced with Anoichi, Ananafshai Kosvis Yabis. I'm putting my soul in front of you. I'm being vulnerable to you. My presence is vulnerable to you. And my speech can only be actualized through you. And it's just the power of what that means that we plug into it. Everything I've just said, it's so beautiful. And I'm almost crying because I think both in myself, but if every person could just hear how much Hashem loves us, the infinite love that Hashem has for each of us, how much he's waiting for us to take this and bring it into the way. It's just, there's no words.
And that's why it's very scary to listen to people, even some Talmidei Chachamim, who say, the Eibishter doesn't have human characteristics. He says he loves you. He doesn't love you. He's motivating you to be good, but what are you doing? How can you turn everything into a make-believe? Okay. As long as we're talking, right? The whole thing with Mitzrayim is Yad Hashem. Even the Egyptians said, Etzba Hashem, right? That's Etzba Elikim. Yeah, but we know that he doesn't have a hand and he doesn't have an etzba. So what are we talking about? I don't know. Something. So he doesn't have a hand. He doesn't have fingers. Kipi Hashem diber. He doesn't have a peh and he does not talk. Let's be real. Pnei Hashem, Af Hashem. Nachas Ruach, none of it. That's almost half the Torah. Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe, Vayemer Hashem al Moshe. None of that actually happened. So if all of that is just a euphemism, then it leads naturally into Sheishes Yomim also Hashem as Hashem. No, it's a euphemism. if you do this Aveda Meis Yomus, doesn't mean kill him. It's a euphemism. Make his life unlivable. Don't kill him. No. So I'm sitting with my granddaughter, and she's playing with a doll, and the arm comes off. So she's crying. So I say to her, yeah, this is so sad. I can't imagine how much it hurt the doll. So she starts to laugh. She says, it didn't hurt. I said, what do you mean? The arm came off. She says, it's not a real arm. I said, why not? She says, it's plastic or rubber, whatever. I said, oh, right. An arm made out of plastic is not a real arm. What is a real arm? Oh, a real arm has to have a bone and some skin on it. Really? That's a real arm? It's a bone with skin on it. That's a real arm? It's a pathetic little thing. Hashem has an arm, and it's real. Isn't we were created b'tzalmai, b'dmusai, not the other way around? So he has an arm. We have something like an arm. When we say euphemism, we're the euphemism. He's the real thing. We are the euphemism. So the question is not, why does it say Yad Hashem? The question is, why does the Torah call a human arm with the same name as the Eibishter's arm? Because they're not the same. So is the Torah playing games, lying, pretending that he has an arm? Not at all. He has an arm. You know what an arm is? An arm is something you can split a sea with. That's an arm. Now we're talking. What's a human arm? Pathetic little thing. It's a muscle. Our arm is a muscle for a real arm. So now, when you say Yad Hashem, and people, the Eibishter has an arm? Yes? Oh, come on, a real arm? Yeah. A literal arm? Yeah. You mean like mine? No. Yours is not real.
So we'd be more, he has a yad. Not, an arm is this, a yad is that.
Whatever the word is, right?
Yeah.
Yad kol odom boy. Same word, right? Yeah, but it's not a real yad. So we got it a little backwards. We became the epitome of real, and the Eibishter is like a suffix. I don't know exactly, whatever, who knows? But I'm real. That's not what the Torah is telling us. The Torah is saying the Eibishter is emes, and we are a little shtikele emes. At least we're a good moshul. But he's the nimshul. So what is the English? Anthropomorphic, right? When you say Yad Hashem, you're using a human term, applying it to the Eibishter. No. When you say Yad Hashem, it's diopomorphic. You're using something about Hashem to describe a human being. And the same is true with Ahava, Kas, Nachas Ruach. We get angry. We don't know how to be angry. We just lose control. Eibishter gets angry. For real. And since we are created b'tzalmai b'dmusai, We have something vaguely similar to anger. We blow a fuse. Our ahava. The Eibishter loves you, you should love him back. Well, good idea, but the Eibishter loves me for real. I love him back, and it's child's play. How much love do I have already? And the Eibishter says, no, the love you have, as tiny as it is an ample reward for my love of you, which is Bliegvul. That is awesome. He loves us and we love him. That's so laughable. But that's what pleases him. He gets angry at us, at a 12-year-old. What did she do? Talk Lashon Hara. And this upsets the creator of the world. So most people will say, doesn't upset him, he's not really angry, he doesn't really care. But he says he's angry to intimidate you into behaving, which doesn't answer the question. Why does he intimidate you into behaving? If he doesn't care about you, why does he care about your behavior? Yeah. Anyway, our relationship with Hashem gets deeper and more personal and more intense with every generation. We are not living in the past, as you were saying. Our strength is that we're looking forward to an increased, deepening, permanent, inseparable relationship with Hashem. So we should really enjoy Pesach. It is a very intimate holiday.
We should all find a Shir Chodesh. That's one of the things we're supposed to do. It's meant to be, this stage has got to be a new song that the other Siddharim have never been. All the way to the ultimate Shir Chodesh. Huge shishkosh. Thank you for sharing so much. Thank you. It's been really fantastic. Learning together, sharing together, but really learning so much from you. Thank you. Thank you, Shabbat.
It's essential.
Yeah. Every message is essential. Beautiful.
Today we see it's essential for the whole world because even the non-Jewish world needs to know. They're so confused. They're so lost. Wow. Yeah. Shkoyach.
Shkoyach to you. Really, Shabbat. Gewaltige Pesach, really. Whatever the words are, Kosh and Freilich, but much more. Should be a Shir Chodesh. Should be Zeicha.
Greatest Pesach ever.
Greatest Pesach ever.